When Jack picked up the workman uniform, I was like, oh, third-degree burn.
For sure, if we fade, then it's a lie. But you know we are the sun, and we'll walk.
This is Lost Thoughts for episode 9, entitled Namaste. This week we'll figure out who was president in 1977, try to find out where Daniel went, and talk about a possible theory concerning the four-toed statue. And here we go, Ajira Flight 316. I have to say, Frank Lapidus is the man. He is cool under pressure. He is the real Chelsea Sullenberger. It's a good thing they built that runway. Seriously, whose idea was that? We know that Sawyer and Kate were helping to build that runway in Season 3, 2004, but how did the others know to build that runway for 3 years in the future? Someone on that plane must have told them. Co-pilot? Dead. Branched through the chest. Very nice. The second that title screen came up that said 30 years earlier, all of a sudden you could hear thousands of Lost fans starting to rearrange thoughts and theories inside of their head. But did you hear the numbers recording from the radio tower during the crash? Now this brings up a little bit of a problem. Kate, Jack, Hurley, and Saeed went back to 1977. The rest of the Ajira 316 crew, which included Locke, Sun, Ben, and Frank, stayed in January of 2008. The numbers recording wasn't changed until 1988 by Danielle. So how did the 2008 plane get the numbers recording from pre-1988? Furthermore, is the island selectively time-traveling people? Perhaps the island only time-traveled those who were worthy enough, or had a specific reason for going back? How the heck do you explain time travel to someone in the course of a couple of minutes? I'm imagining Daniel Faraday showing up dressed as Doc Brown from the first Back to the Future movie, shouting, "Marty, you've got to come back with me! Back to the future!" Yeah, you're in 1977. Oh. What? One of the best two lines of the episode. The other one's coming up later. Dharmaville. It was eventually renamed New Otherton. Both names trademarked by Sawyer. Seriously, how much does it suck to be Sawyer right now? He has to deal with them coming back from the future. He has to try and get them into the Dharma Initiative without anybody being wise. And he has to deal with the quadrilateral of himself, Juliet, Kate, and Jack. And based on the loving hug, maybe Hurley too. Radzinski. Automatically, a lot of questions. Radzinski was the name of the guy who was Kelvin's partner in the Swan Station. Kelvin, of course, was the guy who was with Desmond before Desmond accidentally killed him. According to Kelvin, Radzinski was the guy who drew the Dharma Station map on the blast door, and blew his brains out onto the Swan Station ceiling. The whole scene with Frank telling people what's gonna happen was very reminiscent of Jack taking the leadership charge in Season 1. Bing. I do not like Caesar. At first he was kind of like the Sawyer-esque type jerk, but now he's just a jerk. He's trying to take lead of people. Sawyer never tried to do that. Now that Charlotte's dead, I don't like Caesar. What has Ben trying to accomplish in January of 2008? Since he moved the donkey wheel at the end of Season 4, apparently he is no longer the leader of the others. The others left the barracks and went to the temple, but... wait a minute. The others moved into the barracks when Ben took over, but we've never actually seen Richard living in one of those houses. And now, just on the episode, we've seen the baby is named Ethan? Ethan was born in the Dharma Initiative and later joined the others? Ben was in the Dharma Initiative and later joined the others. And here's another small twist. These are two links to two supposedly different people on Lost. Amy, who just gave birth to Ethan, and Amelia. Amelia was the first person to show up for Juliet's book club at the very beginning of Season 3. My thought? They are the same person. Amy could be short for Amelia. What does it mean for the others to have all of these former Dharma people in them? This is starting to smell like Theory of the Week. Richard is an original inhabitant of the island. Let's call him a part of the original others. Thank you to Seanie B, who in this video told TV Guide that the statue is not of Anubis, but of a different Egyptian god, Taueret, the goddess of motherhood. After the four-toed statue of Taueret, collapsed due to the earthquake that was caused when Locke turned the frozen donkey wheel. The original others could have lost the ability to have children. So when a group of people can't have children, of course their numbers start to dwindle. So for years and years, the original others started dying out, and the only one left, eventually, was Richard. As a result, Richard had no other choice but to start recruiting other people to be others. He recruits people through Mittelos Bioscience, possibly the US Army, the Dharma Initiative, and yes, even the random plane crash on the island. And the others had a steady supply of recruits, that is, until Ben initiated the purge, and he was forced to bring in fertility doctor Juliet. If you're a non-other, you're fine. See Claire and Amy. The second that you become one of the others, you are now afflicted with that fertility problem. Back to the episode. Saw Kermit the Frog on one of those screens. Weird. Hurley says what everyone's thinking. He has to remind Sawyer about the purge. He talks about changing the future, to which Sawyer has to mention Faraday, and of course, the big shocker, Faraday is not with them anymore. I have 3 theories as to why Faraday is not with them anymore. 1, he joined the others. 2, Faraday was doing experiments to try and get them back to their normal time. He screwed up and accidentally threw himself back into the 1950s, which could cause him to help the original Dharma Initiative find the island in the first place. Or 3, he just left to take away the risk of him actually telling young Charlotte not to come back to the island. Who's president in 1977? Come on, Hurley. Oh, no, don't tell me. And now Son's trying to steal the Michael Emerson one-liner. I lied. I'm sorry, it does not work if your name is not Benjamin Linus. Jack is a workman? That's hilarious. Do you think that was just a practical joke on Sawyer's part, just trying to get him back? We see the swan being designed by Brzezinski, and he says that Saeed, who he thinks is a hostile, was not meant to see it. Perhaps this means that the swan was built in secrecy, and the others had no idea it was there. That would explain how Brzezinski, Kelvin, and later Desmond were never found inside of that hatch. I love that group shot from 1977. I want it for my desktop. I'm a what? That was the other best line of the episode. Also, that photo kind of creepily reminded me of the end of The Shining. What can Saeed do now? He's already identified himself as a hostile. How the heck is he going to get out of this? Phil doesn't trust Jack? Well, I don't trust Phil. Jack has no right to tell Sawyer what to do. Sawyer's in charge now. Sawyer runs a different ship. Oh, Jack says, I got them off the island. Jack, you only got a few people off the island. Not to mention, you're back on the island. So what now? The scene where young Ben shows up and talks to Saeed was surreal. What is going through Saeed's mind? He's gonna strangle little Ben. This is the going back in time and killing young Hitler question at its finest. The preview for next week showed Saeed saying, now I know exactly why I'm here, and then he shoots someone. First assumption is that he killed young Ben. But if you're a subscriber in the Miss Hawking theory that the past, present, and future cannot be changed, then you know that Ben can't die. Now let's jump into some message board chatter. People are saying how if you take the numbers 4, 8, 23, and 42, and you add them up, you get 77, as in 1977, or enter 77. With Amy's baby being identified as Ethan, a lot of people are jumping back and trying to figure out who Pierre Chang's baby is. Being that they're Asian, there are 3 possibilities for now: Miles, Sun, and Jin. Also, because of the Kermit the Frog video, some people brought up Sawyer back in Season 2 killing the tree frog. That tree frog was apparently croaking at 108 decibels. And finally, everyone is gearing up for Taueret. I mean, the quadrilateral showdown. I, for one, want to figure out how this young, innocent Benjamin turned into the maniacal, evil Ben that we know and love today. Thank you, time travel, for making this all possible. Next week's episode is entitled, He's Our You. Who he is, and how he is actually you, is something that you will have to find out when you. Just watch next week's episode. Until then, we'll see you next week. Jimmy Carter.